Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. Uh, you already know who it is. Target individual CJBK. It's probably about 6:30 a.m. Wednesday, October 4th. Um, I know we're supposed to be getting this so-called emergency broadcast test later on today around 2:20. But if you know what I know, then you know what to do with your electronic devices or to do it yourself when this test happens. Um, yeah, I just woke up at my mom's house, and when I woke up, I just had this like all right here on the left side of my chest, all right here, like everything all going from right, all right here. Feels like it feels like I was swallowing hot coals. My throat felt raspy, and then the right side of my head, all right here, feels like there's like a hot air balloon inside of my skull or something. There's so much pressure right here. Like it doesn't hurt here, it just feels like pressure here. But all this feels like burning. So they probably and then my phone died while I was listening to frequencies. I didn't have my data or anything on. It was on airplane mode, and I didn't have Wi-Fi on. But as long as the phone have a charge, they're basically using the electromagnetic field from the phone to basically create a energy beam going into, I guess, all these different parts. And then when I went to go and try to plug my phone up, when I went to try and go on, I'm hearing the one who probably put me on this list. I wish I knew his real name. He's like, that's a snitch ass nigga. Um, I'm hearing his voice. I mean, I heard all their voices as soon as I woke up. Michael, Tyshawn. I don't know their names, but I know if I seen them in the street, I'll probably recognize them. But obviously, I can't just go up to somebody and do anything to them, or else that just gives whoever is in the NYPD and a part of the secret society, that just gives them a free one up to put a notch under their belt for like a crime that they, was able to put an end to or whatever. Um, yeah. So yeah, and then when I went to go and charge my phone, I didn't realize my mother. She still doesn't seem to like. She still won't understand what I mean. Like every electronic device in the house, if it's plugged into the wall and there's a current running through that device, they're going to use that as a weapon. So I turn my Wi-Fi on. She still sleeps with the Wi-Fi on. So that's why I turned my Wi-Fi on, and then I realized it connected. So I was like, damn, she went to sleep with the Wi-Fi on. So and then among other things, it's interesting because I don't hear as much, like when I come over here to sleep or whatever, I don't hear as much noise above my head over here as I do back in my place in the Bronx. Right? But I know they have cell towers on the roof of this building, and they probably have other mobile devices that they can use to transmit these electromagnetic pulses and frequencies to the bodies of people being targeted. So Normally, if I wake up like this, what I'll do is I'll start listening to healing frequencies. Before I started this video, I had 528 as a carrier and 7.8 as a beat playing on my brain equalizer frequency generator app for the for Apple or for the iPhone. You could probably find another equivalent app, frequency generator app on your phones. And then you can manually put in some of these frequencies. But yeah, I guess for the most part I could say I've slept and I haven't awakened, for the Lord sustained me. And if you are a believer in the Bible and God and everything, you believe that you have days that you must live out. Death cannot come of you until you live out your days. So it's like, no matter how much they say, oh, he's not going to be here for much longer, nobody knows the day, the time, when or how they're going to go out from this world. That's why God tells us not to worry about how long we're going to be here, because none of us have control over that. For all they know, they could end up dying before I do. I just have to endure. The whole process. And through this endurance test, now that they just hit me in my genitals with a frequency. And it all comes from the phone. What every TI needs to acknowledge is that your phone is basically like a personal server or / it's like a personal server or like a remote weapon to your entire body. Your phone, yeah, there it goes. I found it. It's like, yeah, because my phone is plugged up into the outlet. So it's basically generating an increased amount of energy. So that now the source of power that they can use to generate these energy beams is much stronger. And then bad enough, I'm holding my phone so I could feel my right hand. My right hand is basically going numb from all of the radiation it's absorbing. But all I have to do is endure to the very end. An eternal life awaits. But you can't have eternal life in these flesh human bodies. That's why these transhumanists are trying to do everything they can to see if they can, surpass the expectations that God has set for all of us. They want to try to turn the human flesh into something that almost can't expire. That's why they're, having everyone ingest and inhale all these nano robots, this nanotechnology, so that they could build like a whole different type of system inside of our organic bodies, and then they can use these nano robots to so-called heal you of every sickness, every ailment. Use these nano robots to stimulate your memory, to expand your memory capacity. Using nano robots to expand your spectrum of your visual spectrum, the amount of light that you can absorb into your eyes, and using these nano robots to expand like your hearing abilities and things of that sort. They're basically using the nano robots to enhance themselves. And then for anyone who's quote unquote not a part of the secret society, they basically get the weaponized version of it. They get everything basically tuned to a more harmful energy. But gotta remember this, no matter what, every single person is now exposed to more radiation than they ever were before. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter if you're being targeted or not. Every single person is being exposed to more radiation than they ever were before. All because these nanorobots, all because these nanorobots are absorbing light and absorbing, energy. They're receiving and sending energy back and forth to whether it's their phone, aka personal server, or straight to the cloud or to cell towers or whatever. They're absorbing radiation. So no matter what happens, every single person is absorbing more radiation than they ever were before. Why? Because nanorobots are conductive. And because of their conductivity, they are absorbing more radiation into their tissues, into their body, into their brain, into every part of their themselves than they ever were before. That's why I try to use I think everyone should download what's called the Z app. The letter Z as in zebra -APP. And it's a free app. You don't have to pay anything. Go to the search or go to what it says sequence and type in detox. Scroll all the way down till you see the one that says heavy metal on detox, and then you'll see teeth metal, something like that. Listen to the one that says play for 6 minutes long. But what you got to do, you got to go into the settings first, because you're going to have to adjust the time. It's gonna in order to adjust the time, it's gonna be in seconds. I don't know why they set it up like that. It's gonna be in seconds. So make sure you change the seconds to 300 seconds, and then play that sequence. The very first frequency. It's gonna be a list of frequencies. The very first one, 2,154 hertz. That specific now they have a beam going into my left kidney. There was a pulse. It's like basically like what they do, and the more and more they do it, the more and more I can understand what happens in real time. The phone, you see, I have my phone right here, right? Now around my body is my aura, right? The phone has sensors built into it, right? The phone is already hacked. They basically have control of the phone and all of the sensors built into the phone. The phone sensors then scan my entire body, which it already had scanned my entire body's aura. My entire body's aura has every frequency related to every energy thing about my body. And this is applied to everyone. What it does, it sends a signal to that specific frequency, right? And then it bounces back to the phone. The phone then resonates. Once it locks on to that resonant frequency for, like, let's say my left kidney, then once it locks on to that frequency and it has that resonance, then what they do is that they increase the amplification and the power behind the signal that they're sending back to that specific frequency for my left kidney. So then what they do is like they are sending pulses of energy to that frequency on my left kidney. So when I felt that pulse, it felt like a hit, like it completely bypassed the skin and other tissues and went straight into the left kidney. That was the pulse, the hit that I felt. Now, just remind you, you're not going to find too much documentation on the weaponization of these sensors. You're not going to find too much, because this is going to be considered classified information. But luckily, we have whistleblowers, former NSA, former CIA and former Army, military people. Hell, even Dr. James Giordano. He's some of his some of his lectures. Some of his neuroscience or neuroweapon lectures are online, and you can see many of the people sitting in his audience are people of the military. And I'm talking about the U.S. military at that. What I don't understand, and this is the part that gets me the most, why are they using weaponized technology on innocent civilians? And then it's like, I mean, with all the people that's in this country who are out there committing the most heinous of crimes, with all the people out there in this country who are conducting themselves in the most volatile ways, they have all these other people that they can act this stuff on. They got all these other people, but instead they do it against people who are civil rights activists. They do it against people who are non-combatant civilians. They do it against people who pay their taxes. They do it against people who are just single parents trying to take care of their children. They do it against women who basically told a guy, no, I don't like you, leave me alone. They do it against men who basically probably, broke up with some girl because maybe for whatever reason. They do it against people who, well, they're giving access to these things. They're giving access to this technology to people who have these vendettas against what I could say righteous or morally adept people, or people who have a high morality. They're not doing this to people who are immoral. They're not doing this to people who are basically stealing from the poor. They're not doing this to specific people who are prisoners or anything like this. It's like the reverse of Guantanamo Bay. It's the reverse of Guantanamo Bay. It's like instead of doing this to terrorists, it's like the terrorists are doing it to civilians. And the worst part is these people feel like they were promised and are being rewarded for their acts of treason and their acts of domestic terrorism. They're being rewarded. But you know what? That's why I do my research, and I learned about occultism. I learned about Luciferians and the pagans of today, and when you understand what's really at the root of this stuff, I mean, you also got to remember the military is infiltrated by secret societies, just like every local law enforcement, every single sector of the judicial judiciary, something I can't even think, because there's so much energy all focused right here. My ability to critically think and form complete sentences is just like, it's like, so I don't know if you can hear it, but yeah, so I don't know if you could hear it, but that popping sound. It's like the brain is swollen, and there's this pressure buildup there. You know, and I don't think they're undetectable. It's just that there's not enough technologically sound people who are, I would consider, white hat hackers, or spectrum analyzers that are aware of this, or if they are aware, they're not strong enough to actually they're not strong enough or brave enough to actually want to, try to see if they can combat this, because they're not undetectable. They're not undetectable because I've studied enough to know that the human spirit can actually feel the thermal and magnetic presence of these sensors and these frequency beams that are being resonate with our body. They're not undetectable. You could literally take your right hand and go over the right hemisphere of your brain. And when you move across, especially over the prefrontal cortex, or I think would be the primary motor cortex, you can feel, and I believe what this is the main, it's the main frequency. And then once you feel it, I keep telling people, it's like probably no bigger than about 3 centimeters in diameter. And you could actually take your thumb and your index finger, just like I'm doing like this. You could take your thumb and index finger, and you could literally pinch and feel the vibration of the frequency. Like right there where my thumb meets my index finger, that is on every single person across the world. Maybe every single person. If you live in a smart city, yeah, you definitely got it. If you live somewhere where there are tons of cell towers and everything, yeah, you got that too. It takes no effort, really. All you have to do is actually just slow yourself down and allow your hands to actually feel the energy presence of these signals. And in that spot, you may even find like a little divot, almost like a little small dent. And it's going to be the size of that it's going to be the size of that same diameter I told you. It's going to be the same size. It's going to be the same size of that diameter I told you about. And there's going to be like a dent. It may be a dent right inside the skull, and that's the beam going right through the skull and into the brain. I wonder how long it took for them to create that dent, so then we would be connected to it, so then they can make that connection to the brain. I always wondered sometimes, like, what if I were to try to let's say put on 285 as a carrier wave. 285 helps heals burns and cuts, and then put 7 hertz. 7 hertz is the frequency that stimulates healing of bone. If I were to put those two on, right, if that could actually heal that part up there, but then only problem is that wouldn't be effective unless I find a way to actually block and absorb the energy that's being carried by that frequency. And it always goes at a 45-degree angle. It always goes at a 45-degree angle, and it always goes straight up into the sky. No matter where I turn, it doesn't change. It's like being connected to a puppet master, basically. It's like being connected to a puppet master. You know how like a puppeteer basically, and like how it basically, how they like they have the little the stick thing and all the strings, and they just pull the different strings, and it makes the person that makes the little puppet move around. Every single person has this, and it goes straight up, not straight up, but it goes at a 45-degree angle, and it's like it's connected to, maybe it's a satellite, or hell, probably a space station. Who knows? You know, and I don't know. I only been receiving it since 2020. But then I don't know. Some people probably been dealing with this for much longer than that. Oh, but yeah, yeah, I'm still here, y'all. So I just wanted to just check in with y'all. I'm feeling all this. Now it's like there's all this energy going all up and down my energy points. My solar plexus, heart chakra, throat chakra, my root, because I'm feeling all these burns now in my genitals. And it's all coming from the phone. It's all coming from the phone. As I'm going around my phone, right, like this, I could feel all of the energy in the sensors basically being carried from my phone. Now, I don't necessarily know if our neighbors have access to this, because I don't know if they probably are just being, I don't know if they're basically just being, remotely told what to do in order to create external stimulants or stimulations, where, like, you got to remember, when it comes to brainwaves can change at an instant. If someone is like making a noise, you could basically change the brainwave pattern of someone. Like if you're trying to focus, I forgot what brainwave that creates. Because there's like delta, theta, alpha, and is it theta? I think it's like 3 or 4 brainwaves, and each one is responsible for specific things in the brain, or the specific things that are happening within the body. I can't recall right now. So whenever they have someone, let's say above you or outside your home, going by making all these different noise stimulations, it's to basically disrupt your brain waves. And then what they're doing is, when they cause those disruptions, it creates an opening, so that when they transmit this data into your brain and it resonates, and then like you like, let's say you lose focus for a split second. That's all they need, is that split second. And then they transmit that data into your brain, and your brain receives it. Now they got something going through the third eye chakra. Yeah, they just increase the power of a frequency going through the third eye. I felt it go right in between my eyes, or in between my eyebrows rather. And now as I pinch the frequency, I could feel the vibration and the power being carried with the frequency. And it's coming from the phone, of course, because the phone is basically like a remote access. It's like a remote access for them. Your phone is basically like a second connection to you. I hate that I had got an iPhone, because I can't take the battery out. But I think most phones these days, they make it so you can't take the battery out. And I kept trying to see if I could find ways to turn the sensors off for the iPhone, but none of those features are available to actually turn sensors off for the iPhone. And it's already bad enough that I have a job that requires me to use a cell phone. You know, I actually thought about it at one point of trying to see if I could find a different job where I no longer needed to use a cell phone. But it's like the importance of my job is the fact that I'm staying physically active. You know, always constantly on the move, trying to burn off some of the energy that's being stored up and locked up in the body. Because I remember like the first or second month into my target and back in 2020, I remember I was walking down the street or walking on the sidewalk. It was a crowded street. It was daytime, and I remember walking past these two women, and then I remember hearing one of the women say, "Ha ha, that's why he has to keep moving." Mm, mm. Yeah. So it's like while I'm doing this, right? It's like on the palm side, I could feel the power of the energy basically going through my hand. Like I could feel it. It's as if like like if someone was shooting a super soaker at you, right? And you put your hand up, right? And you put your hand up, and you know how like a super soaker is like a concentrated beam of water? Put your hand up and you can feel like the energy particles basically like blasting against your body's energy. Because remember, we emit radiation. We emit radiation from our hands. So when the energy from the frequencies that they're using are comes against our hands, it creates like a interference. So it's like imagine I don't know how many of you watch like animes and stuff like that, but like let's say in like Dragon Ball Z, right? You know, like those moments when they like do like when Goku does like the Kamehameha wave, or like when they just do like an energy blast, right? And then the two energy blasts, they both they both collide, and then you see that power struggle between the two energy blasts. Basically, what's happening is we may not know how to actually do an energy blast, right? But when you learn to actually like just use your thumb and your index finger, and you find when you locate that thermal magnetic presence of the energy of the frequency being, you'll feel it engage your energy life force. You'll feel it engage the radiant energy or your chi. You'll feel it engage yours. So like right now, I could feel it pushing up against my hand. Now the only thing I haven't really learned to do is how to really okay. Now I think I just did a little something there, but it's like it's hard to do. But meditation, they say meditation can help you with it, and also when you really learn to use your creative side of your brain to visualize. They say if you were to close your eyes and imagine an energy bubble starting from the center of your body, starting from your heart chakra. Imagine an energy bubble just growing. Imagine it growing, growing, growing. And then eventually it starts to come outside of the body. And you just keep letting it grow. Now, as I'm imagining this energy bubble growing larger and larger and growing outside of the body, you almost start to feel like that energy bubble is like pushing out. Like it's pushing. It's pushing out against the energy that they're using against me. Now, that little bit, that actually helped. So I have to, a lot of times, remind myself that I can do that. Imagine creating an energy field around your entire body, but you have to start it from your heart chakra, because your heart chakra produces the most amount of energy out of your entire body. It's not your brain, it's actually your heart. So that's why they say when you learn to love is the most powerful energy source there is. And love comes from the heart. So what you got to do, you have to imagine creating an energy bubble starting from your heart. It's going to start off as a small ball and just build it up. Build it up. Keep expanding it. Keep expanding it. Keep expanding it. And you have to really visualize yourself. Like when you close your eyes, visualize yourself the way you're sitting, like right now. Like I'm sitting on my old bed, right? Visualize yourself sitting on your old bed, or sitting wherever you are. When you see the picture of your body, expand that energy field until it goes around your entire body. Now, as I'm focusing on it, I could feel all that pressure that they have on my brain. It's like slowly expanding, but I got so much pressure on the right side of on the right hemisphere of my brain that it's like seeping out in spurts. That's why I keep exhaling like that. You got to remember the human spirit, or the energy that radiates from us, especially if you know you're connected to the source, you're connected to God, the creator of all energy and all life and all matter. You got to remember, you can cultivate this. You can literally expand. You can harness energy from the source to keep feeding into your heart, so then you can expand your bubble even more. But it takes practice. It takes practice. All right, yeah. I am my mom moving around and about, so probably, dang, I really didn't want to wake up this early, but I think what woke me up was probably God telling me to get up and start to heal yourself again. But anyway, learn about Qigong, learn about Qi, because the Western world claims they don't believe in energy, the energy field produced by the body or the biofield. In the Western world, the answers that you seek, you're not going to find it on the Western world. You need to look east. Because you gotta remember, when they first were developing this technology, what did? They went out east. They sent their researchers, the Nazis sent their researchers out to India and parts of Asia. They sent all their researchers and scientists out east to learn about the energy field produced by the human body. So just like how they sent their scientists and their tormenting, researchers out east to try to learn about how to do this, how to create a weapon for it, we need to look east for those who basically learn how to create a field or a defense or even an offense by using the energy. Yeah, that one. It's almost as if like it wrapped, like it went from, and like it went under my arm and then attached to like behind me, and I could feel it. I could feel it in my right hand, and then it just goes up. It just goes straight. It just goes up in that 45-degree angle. And every time I take out my architectural radio app and I try to find what could be in the direction of wherever this stuff is aiming, I always find the same satellite somewhere nearby in the direction of where it's going. Sirius 1, Sirius 2, and Sirius 3 satellites. Each one of them in the Architecture of Radio app says it's property of the United States. And then right under that, it says it's a part of communication. It's put in the category of communication. But each one of those satellites were supposedly decommissioned or basically they're supposed to be off. They're not supposed to be used right now. Every time I look up anything about them, they say they were either decommissioned in 2009, 2013, or some time ago. But me, I've already seen the active competitions or study or where they actually have contests with hackers who can basically hack a satellite mere seconds before it, like in the time before a decommissioned satellite can be pushed into the graveyard orbit. You can hack a satellite before it actually gets there, and then once you hack the satellite, that satellite is now yours. Because to their files, that satellite is no longer being operated by anyone. So the FCC is basically not doing their job, or rather the FCC is a part of the whole thing. I mean, all these organizations, all these different sectors of government is infiltrated by a secret society. All these different sectors. And I just keep thinking to myself, you telling me every single person in all these intelligence agencies, all these law enforcement agencies, all these different Department of Defense sectors of government, they're all a part of the secret society? You telling me every single person is a part of? And then I'm like, you telling me every single person is actually afraid to be a true patriot? Every single person is actually afraid to be morally right? It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. You're telling me every single person is doing wrong? Like when it says in the Bible that God looked upon the earth and seen that there was not one? You telling me every single one of these person are bad? You telling me that there's no more good people working in government now? There's no more good people. You telling me not one? That's crazy to me. I don't want to believe that. I really don't want to believe that. You tell me that there's not one. And anyone who probably ends up is a good person, they end up being labeled a whistleblower. And then once they become a whistleblower, then they basically get, they basically get targeted. Then after they get targeted, now all of a sudden their credentials and stuff is stripped away from them, and there's no one there to help protect them. It's just like good cops. It's just like when good people become cops, and then they see corruption inside of the force, and they report the corruption. All of a sudden, all the cops that that were supposed to be their brothers and sisters in blue then turn against them because they were reporting on corruption. It's crazy. It's crazy. But you know what? Watch God work, because luckily nothing new happens under the sun. So we already know what's about to happen to all these people. A third of the world's population, remember that. A third of the world's population. God is going to destroy a third of the world's population. That's probably how many people out here is actually doing all bad. A third of the world's population is probably about 3.2, maybe 2.7, 2.5 billion people. That's a lot of souls that's about to be destroyed. Anyway, let me see. Is it? Yeah, about 2 point. Yeah, somewhere between 2.5 and 2.7 billion people. And anyone that's going to be left alive after this move of God, they're either going to drop to their knees and seek forgiveness from God, or they're going to be those who are still righteous in mind, spirit, and body, and they're already going to be receiving all the benefits of enduring till the very end. The meek shall inherit the earth, it says. And just always remember, if you can endure to the very end, and pay attention to how God will use your enemies as a step stool. They're not undetectable. They're not unbeatable. It's just that there's not enough courage left in the world. That's why. They're not undetectable. They're not unbeatable. It's just that there's not enough courage in the world. So you have to be courageous. You have to stand up and be a light of God. You have to be a representation of God. Because when your light shines brighter than everything that they're doing, God is going to empower you to keep going forward. God is going to empower you and still prepare a table for you in the presence of your enemies. And don't be afraid to let go of things that you once used to hold on to. Don't be afraid to let go of, certain material things. Don't be afraid to let go of old habits. Don't be afraid to let go of people, because trust and believe, you're going to lose a lot of people. Trust me, I thought, man, they say if ye was of the world would love thee. But because ye was of the world, and I have chosen you from the world will hate thee. I was at one point, I felt like, a friend to everybody. Like everybody was cool with me. It seemed like everybody was cool with me until they hacked my nervous system and then begin trying to see if they can intimidate me. And then after they realized they couldn't intimidate me from going to seek help about what's happening, once they realized that I wasn't going to be easily intimidated, and once they realized that I was not going to be immoral in any way, shape, or form the way they are, that's when all of a sudden everyone who thought I was cool then began to turn on me. Friends, family. And then I have some family that's still acting like they cool with me, but I already see their energy, or I see it. I see it. I see it and I feel it. Can't even go to like a family function without somebody kind of watching me from the side, or low key gaslighting. But you know what? I still love them anyway. Why? Because they were my family. I say it word, but I mean they still are my family. But it's just, I know that when that day come and God makes that move against every single person on the earth, and if you don't have that seal of God in your forehead, if you don't have that seal of God, if you are not one of God's chosen children, and you are not enduring through this faith walk, ain't nothing I could do to help you. And just like how they're like, because they constantly tell me, like the handlers or whatever, or the tormentors, they constantly tell me, you by yourself, Christopher. You by yourself. Ain't nobody gonna help you. He think Jesus Christ is gonna come back and save him. There's so much that God keeps hidden from humanity. No matter what technology that you're using, there's so much that God still keeps hidden from humanity. That's why they got this big hadron collider out in I think it's Switzerland, trying to see if they can find everything they can about dark energy matter, and trying to create portals, or maybe they have created portals, I don't know. They're trying to see if they can find a way to bring forth even more spirits into our world. But they don't realize they're about to destroy themselves in the process anyway. Dang, my left hand getting numb out of that switch hands. There's like a chill, not a chill, but like my arm is going cold on my left. My left arm is going cold because I'm holding my phone in my left hand. Yeah, but anyway, as always, take life one breath, one thought, one step, one day at a time. Peace.